Good afternoon. My name is Barbara Fuller, and as chair of the board, I welcome you to this virtual July 6, 2021 regular meeting of the Washtenaw County Board of Road Commissioners. Our communications manager, Emily Kaiser, will now describe how our virtual meetings operate, how to access the agenda packet, and how people may participate remotely. Emily?
Thanks, Commissioner. So if you would like to make public comment during the public comment portion of this meeting, we will provide instructions and prompt you at the appropriate time in the agenda to virtually raise your hand. This can be done either through your computer or touch-tone phone, or if you're joining us through the app on your smartphone. The chat feature on this Zoom meeting is available only as technical support for users on their computer or smartphone. If you're experiencing technical issues with audio or video during the meeting, submit a comment in the chat feature and I will help you troubleshoot. If you are a commissioner or a staff member experiencing issues, please contact the IT help desk and they will assist you. The audio and video of this meeting is being recorded. A link to the video will be posted to wcroads.org in the coming days. Today's meeting agenda is also posted on wcroads.org, and there's a link available in the chat if you're joining us from your computer. I'll post that link one more time in just a minute. And that's all I have, Commissioner. Thank you.
Thank you, Emily. I now call this meeting to order, and is it Aaron or Emily that's calling the roll today?
I'll call a roll today. Thank you.
Okay, and I would like to make a note that Rod Green has an excused absence for today. Commissioner Roderick Green has an excused absence.
Okay, excuse me, sorry. Chair Barb Fuller.
Barbara Fuller, participating remotely from Scioto Township, Washtenaw County, Michigan.
Commissioner Doug Fuller.
Doug Fuller is present and is participating remotely also from Scioto Township.
Commissioner Gloria Yamas.
Gloria Yamas, participating remotely from Pittsfield Township, Washtenaw County.
And Commissioner Joanne McCollum.
Good afternoon. I'm present and I am participating remotely from Ypsilanti Township, Washtenaw County.
Managing Director Cheryl Siddle.
Present.
Senior Project Manager for Design and Construction, Aaron Burkholz.
Present.
Director of Operations, Jim Harmon.
Present.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Emily. I would now like us to observe a moment of silence for those who have perished because of the COVID-19 virus. Thank you. We will move on to approval of the agenda. May I have a motion to approve the agenda as presented, please?
I motion that we approve the agenda for today.
A second.
Thank you. Any discussion, changes, additions, deletions? Seeing none, Emily, if you would please call the roll.
Commissioner Doug Fuller.
Didn't we just do this?
That was roll call for attendance. This is roll call to accept the agenda.
Oh, okay, yes. Doug Fuller says yes.
Commissioner Gloria Yamas.
Yes.
Commissioner Joanne McCollum.
Yes.
Commissioner Barb Fuller.
Yes. Next item on the agenda is acceptance of the minutes. We have 3 sets of meeting minutes to approve today. May I have a motion to accept the board meeting minutes of June 15th, 2021? They appear on pages 3 through 10 of the board packet.
Madam Chair, I move that we accept the closed
No.
the board meeting minutes of June 15th, 2021.
Thank you.
Support.
Thank you. Any discussion? Any changes? Any corrections? Additions, deletions? Seeing none, all those in favor of accepting the board
Commissioner,
meeting
I'm sorry.
minutes will signify aye when your name is called.
Thanks. Commissioner Gloria Yamas.
Yes.
Commissioner Joanne McCollum.
Yes.
Commissioner Doug Fuller.
Aye.
Commissioner Barb Fuller.
Yes. Next set of minutes will be the closed session minutes. So may I have a motion to accept the closed session minutes of June 15th, 2021? Those were sent to us in a separate email.
Yes, you have that motion.
Thank you. Is there a second? Thank you. Any discussion? Additions, deletions, corrections? Hearing none. Those in favor of accepting the closed session minutes, please indicate by saying aye or nay when your name is called.
Commissioner Joanne McCollum,
Aye.
Commissioner Doug Fuller,
Aye.
Commissioner Gloria Yamas,
Yes.
and Commissioner Barb Fuller.
Yes. The third set of minutes are from the working session. May I have a motion to accept the working session minutes of June 15th, 2021? They appear on pages 11 and 12 of the board packet.
Madam Chair, I move that we accept the working session minutes of June 15th, 2021.
I'll support that motion.
Thank you. Any corrections, changes, additions, deletions? Hearing none, please indicate your approval or lack thereof when your name is called.
Commissioner Doug Fuller,
Aye.
Commissioner Gloria Yamas,
Yes.
Commissioner Joanne McCollum,
Aye.
and Commissioner Barb Fuller.
Yes. Next item on the agenda is the public comments section. This is the time set aside on the agenda to receive comments from the public. This is not intended to be a period for dialogue. Each person will be allotted 3 minutes to address the board. Emily, do we have anyone who wishes to address the board?
Thanks, Commissioner. I'm going to just do a quick rundown of the instructions, and then we can ask people to virtually raise their hand. So again, if we would like to make public comment, we ask that you virtually raise your hand now. If you're viewing the meeting on your computer, you want to first make sure to click Join Audio. And then you can raise your hand by clicking the Participants or Reactions button at the bottom of your screen. It may also be either Participants or Reaction, depending on what version of Zoom you have. But then you should see the Raise Hand button at the bottom of that pop-up. If you have dialed into the meeting from your touch-tone phone, you can raise your hand by dialing *9. I will unmute participants with raised hands one at a time. I will announce your username or the last 4 digits of your phone number when it's your turn to speak. Please share your name and address before beginning your comments. Is there anybody that would like to virtually raise their hand now? At this time, Commissioner, I do not see any raised hands.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda then is written communications. They appear on pages 14 through 33 of the board packet. Is there anything any of the commissioners wish to point out or draw our attention to? Seeing none, we will move on to the next item, which would be commissioner and staff follow-up to public comment. Since there was no public comment, we will move right on to new business and the consent agenda. The consent agenda appears on pages 34 through 42 of the packet. May I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented, items 1 through 5?
Certainly you may. I move the consent agenda, items 1 through 5.
Support.
Thank you. Any discussion? Seeing none, those in favor of approving the consent agenda indicate so when your name is called.
Commissioner Joanne McCollum,
Yes.
Commissioner Doug Fuller,
Aye.
Commissioner Gloria Yamas,
Yes.
Commissioner Barb Fuller.
Yes. All right, so we will move on to reports. Our county commissioner liaison, Caroline Sanders, is with us today. Caroline, do you have anything you'd like to share with us today or questions you'd like to ask of us?
Good afternoon. I think I do maybe have one question. I'm interested if you can share either now or at a later time the effect that the flooding we've had has had on roads. Has there been any extra strain put on the roads?
Well, the short answer is yes, particularly the soft surface roads. I don't know whether Managing Director Siddle, do you want to address that question now or at another time?
Sure, I can answer very generally, and then I'd be happy to have Jim Harmon share the meeting that he sat in on Friday, actually with County Administrator Greg Dill and others with respect to potentially seeking disaster relief funds. So as much rain as we have had, we certainly have had impacts. We had some call outs. We had sort of the usual suspects, so to speak, closed. Liberty Road, some others were temporarily closed. And we've certainly had some culvert work that has had to be done as well. We certainly have not seen the magnitude that some of the other areas around the state have seen, especially in Southeast Michigan. But we have had some localized flooding, and our staff has been incredibly responsive in trying to take care of those as they've come up. So Jim, I don't know if you'd like to share the meeting that you attended on Friday and the efforts that you and your staff are currently underway to sort of quantify exactly what has happened because of the flooding.
Sure, Cheryl, with the chair's permission, I'm happy to update. On Friday, I participated in a virtual meeting with county leadership, emergency services personnel. The Board of Commissioners Chair Sue Schenk declared a local state of emergency, and as an initial effort, hoping that the state of Michigan and the governor would extend the state of emergency from Wayne County and include Washtenaw County. At that point, that would make things possible to pursue federal funds to help cover the response and recovery following the storm event that occurred the evening of June 25th and into the morning of June 26th. The Road Commission county road system was affected by that storm. We did experience minor damage. I'm pleased to report that staff were immediately responsive on an emergent basis in response to area emergency responders asking for assistance to close roads temporarily due to flooding or downed trees, washouts, and our staff did exactly that. Work in the recovery part of that whole effort continued through about Wednesday, June 30th. And I'm pleased to report that we're substantially restored at this time. One exception was Liberty Road here in Scioto Township through the swamp between, really it's Park Road and Zeb Road, notoriously prone to flooding and being closed, fortunately for brief periods of time because of improvements that we partnered with Scioto Township on a couple years ago. The road was in fact reopened this morning. The flooding had receded and we were able to make repairs and get the road reopened to the traveling public. So with that said, coming out of the meeting on Friday, operations staff are presently working on compiling the costs and expenses that we can confidently attribute to that storm event, again, that occurred on the 25th and into the morning of the 26th of June. We'll be submitting preliminary assessment reports to the Washtenaw County Emergency Services Division tomorrow by approximately 3 p.m., possibly sooner. That'll have preliminary descriptions of response and recovery efforts, time, materials that were involved in all of that work, and costs, preliminary costs. The county is compiling that information with information from Water Resource Commissioner's office, Evan Pratt's office, also other impacts that involve other public assets and private assets, residences that may have been flooded where they were adversely impacted. All of that information will be made available to the state, possibly as early as tomorrow, late afternoon, Thursday at the latest, in preparation for the governor's visit to Wayne County. And with the hope that the governor feels there's sufficient evidence to extend emergency declaration to Washtenaw County, again, hopefully making us eligible for federal funds, FEMA funds, to help with the response and recovery efforts. That concludes my remarks.
Thank you, Jim.
You're welcome.
Anything further, Cheryl?
I have nothing further to add to that. Hopefully that answered the question, but we'd be happy to entertain questions if you have any.
Okay. All right. Anything else, Commissioner Sanders?
No, thank you very much.
You're welcome, and thank you for joining us today as well. We will now move on to the report of the road commissioners. Commissioner Doug Fuller, if you would start us off with your report.
My report was turned in, if somewhat tardily. I don't have it in front of me.
Okay. Doug did submit his report in advance, and it will be included with the minutes. Gloria, do you have a report for us today?
I do not have a report today.
Thank you. Joanne?
Yes. I watched 2 virtual meetings. One was on Pontiac Trail and North Territorial Road, and I watched the one on the Project Bridge Road preservation on Bridge Road.
Very good. Thank you. And my report on June 17th, completed the managing director's performance appraisal. On June 18th, we received a thank you note from Commissioner Rod Green and his family in appreciation for the condolences of the passing of his wife, Mrs. Regina Green. On June 21st, I completed all the cybersecurity online training modules. It took me about an hour to do that, and I encourage everyone who hasn't done it to go ahead and get that taken care of. And on June 30th, I was the road commissioner assigned to the chat session. We had no visitors that day. A reminder to all of us road commissioners, as I said, please complete the cybersecurity training modules by August 2nd. Regularly check for software updates on your road commission computers. There will be some from Microsoft and others that will be installed, as Chris Quinter has told us, silently in the background if you're online. Also want to emphasize the use of road commission laptops and phones for all road commission communications. That's extremely important. And mark your calendars for upcoming chat sessions to which you are assigned, and be sure to secure a substitute if you cannot attend your assigned session. That's all I have. We will proceed to the managing director and her staff reports. Cheryl?
Thank you. I guess the main thing that I wanted to share is that I have continued to have discussions with Evan Pratt, our Water Resources Commissioner, with respect to funding for drainage improvements on local roads. Specifically, we were originally talking about culverts, although as the recent storm event demonstrated, obviously there are infrastructure issues with respect to our storm sewer as well, and lack of funding for quite some time on our overall drainage system on the local road system. Evan has revisited the definition of stormwater improvements under the American Rescue Plan legislation that is out there, and has actually come to the conclusion that these types of improvements are eligible under those ARP funds. So actually, with the assistance of Emily Kaiser, we've been working on putting together a document that is sort of a one-page tips or talking points, I guess, really, with respect to lack of funding on that particular system, especially on the local road side of things, and the possibility of seeking ARP funds, potentially through the county, was the original thought. And while we are hopeful that those ARP funds, the thought being that the ask would be approximately $2.5 million from the county for those funds. Regardless, we think it is an important conversation to have, because just the lack of investment on that local road system, and specifically with respect to drainage, is just an ongoing issue. And we know how difficult it is to fund those improvements, as local roads. By law, we cannot invest more than 50%, and most of the time, we don't even have the 50% other than through the local road matching program that we provide. And the townships are struggling as well. So if there's other opportunities for these very important assets to be funded, we think that it's important that, first of all, there be an awareness of that need, and then also that we continue to seek funding wherever possible. There continues to be talk about infrastructure funding at the federal level. And while we are certainly supportive of any funding that will be coming through, hopefully bipartisan support through that, I think it's important to remember that more than likely those funds are going to be federal aid eligible, meaning primarily our primary road system, and that once again, our local road system will continue to struggle and to not have that particular funding source available to it. So it just continues to be an area where we don't see resource, and we need to be as creative as possible in looking for it. So I'd be happy to answer any questions with respect to local road funding, specifically with respect to drainage, and any conversations with Evan Pratt.
If I could, I'm just going to interject here and ask our County Commissioner Sanders, do you have any indication of what the public engagement schedule is going to be to hear from the public in Washtenaw County about use of the American Rescue Plan dollars that are being received by the county?
Commissioner, you should be able to unmute now.
Sorry
about that.
Okay, I had to be unmuted first. We do not have that rollout schedule yet. I will say though that Chair Shink and I have talked last week. I think she's been probably speaking individually as she can get us with the commissioners. But we don't have that rollout time frame at this point.
Okay.
So at this point, we're still, I'm not going to get his title right. Peter Lindeman has created a very helpful document for us to kind of outlines what we've gathered so far as being areas of importance and what can and cannot be funded by this money.
Okay.
So I just received that last week, but we're inching, we're getting there. I have not let up. You know, I'm kind of insisting that we need the community's input. I have had the audacity to suggest that we do a bus tour to the various districts, and also be able to have a Gloria smiling at me. I don't know if she likes that or not. So I'm hoping that we might be able to utilize that in the next, say, month and a half. And that might be another way for us to engage the residents in the county as well. If we kind of just literally all get on the bus and visit each other's district, I think that would be an ideal time. But as soon as we know, we will share with you. I won't speak for everybody. I'm anxious to find out when we're going to be able to start, addressing our constituents to get their opinions.
Thank you.
I hope that helps.
It does. Thank you, Commissioner. Cheryl, back to you.
Right. And actually, yes, thank you. That was definitely helpful. And certainly we respect the fact that there are a lot of requests for funding out there as well. So I would be at this point more than happy to hand it over. I know that Jim and his staff have a lot more going on other than recovering from the storm, which we are always prepared to do if and when that happens to us. So Jim, if you'd like to bring us up to speed on operations.
Sure, quickly. The last 3-week period that's summarized in your board packet, starting on page 44 through page 50, is very productive, including response to the storm, or storms, I should say, including the one that was more severe on the 25th, 26th. Considerable amount of work occurring countywide, and I'm very pleased to report that. In addition, I updated the board and senior management with an email last Friday, including the Operations Department 2021 road program, both major and local road investment program, and delighted with the progress that staff's making on that. In addition, specific work, our limestone gravel resurfacing program, that's about 137,000 tons of limestone, mostly limestone and gravel resurfacing. We're about 40% complete. I'm very, very satisfied with the progress that we're making in that regard and where we're at this time in the season. So the next probably 3 to 4 weeks, we'll start to make another major push on that. Probably get another 30% done. And finally, as part of our countywide seal coat program, that's our asphalt pavement preservation efforts, we began our fog seal this week. We're hoping to start it last week, but the rainy weather prevented that, delayed us to today. We began where we started the chip seal on Herman Road and Austin Road. We have 2 crews operating separately, independently, and we'll be working to fog seal all of the roads that we chip sealed over the last 6 weeks, working in a counterclockwise direction, the same order that we performed the chip seal. So off to a good start today. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions the board may have of me or the operations department.
Commissioners, do you have questions?
I don't have a question. I just wanted to comment on how efficient the road commission staff is. There was a tree that fell down on Tyler Road, which is my road. And before you knew it, it was taken care of quickly as if it was never there. So I just want to say I appreciate that. This was really, even though other areas got it worse than we did, it was still, you know, pretty bad for us too. And to have that done so quickly and to regain our traffic, be able to get back on the street and do what we need to do, that is so helpful. So thank you.
You're welcome, Commissioner. And,
So I too.
My compliments to the board for its support. We are blessed with an incredible team of experts, highly dedicated personnel. They take real ownership of their jobs and the important work that we're supposed to do.
So I want to thank you too, because there was a tree down on Crane Road in front of my house, and it doesn't even show up with the fallen trees because I saw 2 trucks zooming down from around the corner on Crane Road before I could get out. The road was totally blocked, you know, and I pulled out of my driveway. One was already there and another one was coming down and was taken care of so quickly and was appreciated. So thank you.
You're welcome.
All right.
Well, Matt actually is on vacation today, so Aaron Burkholz is sitting in on behalf of the engineering department. I promised him he didn't have to say too much, but a quick update on behalf of engineering I think would be appreciated, and certainly if there's any questions with respect to any of the engineering run projects, I'm sure that Aaron would be happy to answer them for you.
Thank you, Cheryl. No, I'd be happy to answer any questions the commissioners may have. Just a brief summary of the projects that are ongoing right now in the engineering department. Nate Murphy, our bridge engineer, is overseeing work on 3 bridges currently. So that would be the Dennison Road Bridge in York Township, the Bridge Road Bridge in Ypsilanti Township, the Mast Road Bridge in Webster Township, just north of the city of Dexter. And we're going to add a 4th one to the list starting this coming Monday, July 12th. We're going to be starting work on the Gettys Road Bridge. That's out near Ridge Road. It's located between Gottfriedson Road and Ridge Road in Superior Township. So that project is going to start on Monday the 12th. That will require a closure of Gettys Road. The existing structure has to be removed in its entirety, and a new precast concrete box will be installed to replace the existing bridge. And the existing bridge, not only is it structurally deficient, but it's functionally obsolete. For anyone who's driven that part of Gettys Road, Really, the reason you notice that bridge is because it's too narrow. You notice that the rest of Gettys Road has sufficient lanes and shoulder widths, but at the bridge it does not. So we've received funding through the state of Michigan, federal aid funding for that bridge, as well as the other 3 that I mentioned. So that bridge will start on Monday, and that closure will be in place for quite some time. We foresee that being in place until late October in order to complete all the associated project work there. The Zeeb Road and Pleasant Lake Road intersection project is ongoing right now, as well as the Bemis and Carpenter Road project. Both of those are part of the same road commission contract with Miller Brothers Construction. Both projects were made more challenging based on the rains that were discussed earlier in this meeting. The timing was not ideal, but the weather, Mother Nature, can be very challenging in regards to a contractor starting a project such as Zeeb and Pleasant Lake, and then within a week getting substantial rains. So that's presented a challenge, but the work does continue at both those intersections. Again, Zeeb and Pleasant Lake is a full closure of the road. Bemis and Carpenter is shoulder closures and daytime lane closures with flagging operations. So at Bemis and Carpenter, not as quite a traffic impact as it is at Zeeb and Pleasant Lake. The Ford Road project between M153 and Plymouth Road, that was substantially completed last week. The paving's been completed, the shoulders are on the road, and the new pavement markings are down. So that job is substantially complete now. The Jackson Road project between Steinbaugh and Parker, the mainline paving was performed on Friday before the holiday break. The crew is back out there today paving side street approaches. We expect, as the weather will allow this week, we'll be putting shoulders on that road and pavement markings. So that will be coming to an end here shortly. Whitaker Road is another part of that same MDOT package with Jackson Road. So that right now the contractor is saying they want to start that work next week, and that'd be Whitaker Road in Augusta Township between Arcona Road and Willow Road. And so that'll be a milling and asphalt paving project. And then Dicksboro Trail, the trail that's being constructed, working with Ann Arbor Township over near Mathi Botanical Gardens, between the Botanical Gardens and Plymouth Road. That work is ongoing. There was concrete curb work that was put in last week, and we expect in about 2 to 3 weeks, the contractor is hoping to be in a position where they can start the paving out there. So just kind of a quick overview of the various projects that are going on in the engineering department. Again, I'm happy to entertain any questions any of you might have.
Any questions?
Yep,
Of course, Mr. Fuller.
of course. Just a guess, please, educated if possible. When would we expect to reopen Pleasant Lake at Zeeb?
I would expect, based on last week's weather complications, we probably have, I'll say, 3 more weeks on that project. So about 3 more weeks to get that to the point where we can reopen that intersection, assuming that Mother Nature cooperates a little bit more.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Not what I wanted to hear, but fine. I really dislike gravel trains roaming around the county other than on Pleasant Lake Road. And we're, of course, forcing them to roam around. And so you can find gravel trains in truly strange places right now. And then, of course, I have to ask, what's the update as of last week about our materials that we need to finish the pier repairs on Mast Road?
Yeah, so Mast Road, we were able last week to put 2-lane traffic back on the bridge.
Right.
During the progress of the previous work, We had the traffic, two-way traffic restricted to one lane, with that traffic being controlled with temporary signals to the north and south of the bridge. Last week, we were able to take those temporary signals down and strategically place a barrier wall along the center of the bridge. We had to, I guess I'll say, just to state it simply, we had to leave a hole in the bridge deck because there is work on the north pier of the bridge that is yet to be accomplished. The contractor is waiting on materials to be delivered for that work to be finished. And I would say, Doug, probably we're looking at about 3 weeks out from now before they receive those materials. That was based on the most recent update from the contractor, E.T. McKenzie. But I would imagine about 3 more weeks for those materials to be delivered. At that point, the previous traffic configuration would be reestablished with 1 lane of traffic, 2 temporary signals, so that they can resume the work and complete the work under that MDOT contract.
Thank you.
Sure.
Further questions for Aaron? Cheryl?
All right, the last thing, since Dan is not here today either, it's a nice summer and everybody's taking advantage of being on vacation right now, as they should. The last page of your board packet includes the most recent MTF that we received for the month of May, and we are recovering nicely. And looking at last year makes things quite difficult because we normally like to trend against the previous year, but obviously last year was not one that we should be trending against. So at the, just looking at where the numbers are at, though, I think that we are definitely where we want to be, and fingers crossed we will be recommending a positive change to our MTF when we do our second quarter budget review. So I would just like to point out to everybody, I do have a running bet with Dan on this very subject right now, and I personally think I'm going to collect. So so we'll see, but things are looking pretty good with respect to that. And having said that, I know that Dan has already been reaching out to staff, and a lot of effort is underway so that we will be prepared for the July working session in 2 weeks to talk about the budget. That is when we go pretty in depth as to where we're at, being that we're at the midpoint through the year, and we'll be making recommendations with respect to 2021 and also starting to look ahead to 2022. So stay tuned. That should be a lot of information coming your way for the working session. And I think that's it, unless there's any questions. That's it from staff's perspective.
Commissioners, do you have any questions for Cheryl or her staff? Seeing none. At this time, I would entertain a motion to move into closed session regarding an inquiry to purchase road commission property in Scioto Township.
I'll make a motion if that's what you'd like to have.
Yes, sir.
I move that we move into closed session for purposes of hearing about an unsolicited offer for purchasing property from the road commission.
Support.
Like a roll call vote, please, on moving into closed session.
Commissioner Doug Fuller,
Aye.
Commissioner Gloria Yamas,
Yes.
Commissioner Joanne McCollum,
Yes.
and Commissioner Barb Fuller.
Yes.
Okay, and before we do that, let me just read a little bit of housekeeping, and then I'll make the transition into closed.
Okay.
So if you are not a road commissioner or a designated staff member, I'll now move you to the virtual waiting room. If you would like to be returned to the open session of the meeting once we've completed the closed session, please remain in the waiting room. I will readmit you once the closed session has been completed. We are good to go with an open session once you're ready.
Okay. And just as a reminder, the proceedings are now being recorded once again. I would like to clarify for the record, the motion that I made was not worded properly. I asked for a motion regarding an inquiry to purchase road commission property, and it was actually for the road commission to purchase property. I got my words mixed up. So please have the record reflect what my intent was. All right. Anything further? Announcements, questions, anything at this time? I would like to point out that our next board meeting takes place on July 20th. That meeting convenes at 1. And that same morning of July 20th, beginning at 9 a.m., we have a working session, which Cheryl pointed out is the budget review. And the virtual chat sessions coming up, July 7th, tomorrow, is Commissioner Doug Fuller. And on July 14th, it would be Commissioner Roderick Green. And I want to express my appreciation to Aaron and Emily and Cheryl for sending reminders out with the appropriate link so that we can all make sure we honor our commitments to fulfill those assignments. If there's nothing else to come before the board, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Madam Chair, I motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Emily, please call the roll.
Commissioner Joanne McCollum,
Yes.
Commissioner Doug Fuller,
Aye.
Commissioner Gloria Yamas,
Yes.
and Commissioner Barb Fuller.
Yes. Thank you, everyone. We are adjourned.